The NBA playoffs are officially set. And the episode comes to you on 4/20. I feel like we should point that out just in case our takes are a little extra saucy.
You say, my bad. Was I supposed to have a pre-roll this episode ready to go? Like,
no, you just never know. Listen,
listen, I'm at home. You're at work, so I don't know how that would exactly go over there. But
no, definitely wouldn't. Definitely would not go over well here. But I just feel like it's full transparency. We should let the people know.
Florida, isn't it this year?
Yeah, it is. People were talking about it. There's a
okay. So that's gonna be, and it should have passed ages ago. But
the planetarium here in Jacksonville.
Oh, I can't wait.
Wait. Tonight they were selling tickets $25 to go to the planetarium and watch a live concert series rerun of Dark Side of the Moon, the whole album. And I was like, they know exactly what they're doing.
I first second thought you were going to say Fish in the Sphere, because I'm pretty sure that's happening in Vegas this week.
Good, yeah.
Stoner activity. I'm trying to think of the other. I put that in the category with the planet. I put that in the I put the planetarium in the category of just like elite marketing and entrepreneurship, the way I do with like the Girl Scout cookies who sell outside the dispensaries, right? It's like, listen, we all know what it is. Like, I respect it.
Well, and to that, you don't really appreciate the planetarium until you're out of school. Like we had one at our high school. There was one like attached to our school.
That's how I know North Penn is different, bro. And non-Pennsylvanians won't get that. Justin went to North Penn High School, which for everyone in Pennsylvania is like the biggest high school by far. Like Justin's high school population has like
so much
closest.
Yeah. And they're not that we have to go down this angle, and I actually don't want to because it's not a great story. There was a whole situation that happened on Tuesday at one of the middle schools, which is like, what are kids doing these days, man? Like, that's a whole nother conversation.
Good.
Yeah. But yeah, the planetarium, man, I had science planetarium class. It was my first class of the day on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's just like, you're going to have me get to school at 7 a.m. and then at 8 o'clock, I have to sit in a dark room and talk about stars. How do you expect me to stay awake for this?
I mean, well, that's the thing is like, that's dangerous putting that first. You're right. Because if you put me in any dark room, like if teachers would put on a movie first period in the morning, because we're starting high school at like 7:20 in the morning, which realistically is insane in hindsight. And I think everyone is starting to realize that it's like, especially if you play sports too, like during football season, I was at high school until 5:30 and I was getting there at 7:20 in the morning. Like,
not even that, the
first period.
I know our swim team had to do double day. They would do 2 days. Yeah. You'd swim in the morning and then you swim after. So you're getting there probably at 5 a.m.
Yeah, it was different. I mean, football, you would get lucky because the 2 days would be over the summer. And so, you would be giving up your whole day, but at least you wouldn't have to go to school. Heck, if anything, honestly, because school would be kind of a relief. It's like, all right, we can only practice once a day now. I mean, maybe they get you in the weight room or something like that early, but at least you're not, doing the full practice.
Well, dude, and I couldn't imagine having to do 2 days in high school down here in Florida.
No, I can't either.
Summer.
Yeah, and I mean, look, Florida is one of those states that it has. I mean, it's churned out an all-time amount of elite football prospects, but yeah, listen, that humidity is different. Like, I mean, I remember going on morning runs, and there would be a certain time where it'd be like usually around 8 or 8:30. If it's in the peak of summer, if I haven't started running by them, like I am taking the risk of actually getting heat stroke and putting myself in danger a little bit. Like, and that's without pads on. That's with a t-shirt and shorts on.
I do want to bring up, while we're talking about Florida, local Jacksonville, we got to shout out Jacksonville's very own Grayson Allen getting the cash, 4 years, 70 mil. Good for him.
I expected this to pop up in Ballin and Fallin low key, but I appreciate you getting on brand early. But yeah, Grayson getting paid. And I mean, this is a guy like, look, obviously there's been a lot of on the court. I don't want to say the word, but
shenanigans,
if you will, shenanigans. Yeah. But he has solidified himself here as a solid NBA role player. Like, we knew he was good at Duke, but I think there were a lot of questions like if it would translate or not. And it's good for him. It's translated. And I mean, he's playing meaningful minutes here on a playoff team. We're going to talk about the Suns and the entire Western Conference and Eastern Conference playoffs coming up here a little bit later in the episode. But yeah, definitely. I mean, that was in a few teams got contracts done. I mean, we talked last week too about Drew Holiday getting the extension with the Celtics, but good for playoff teams locking up some of their guys right before all this gets started, maybe giving them a little extra boost of motivation.
Yeah, well, and obviously most of it, and actually, I guess probably all of it happened before the play-in games, which were obviously happening last week. If I asked you, better player between, it might be too early to do the comparison.
Okay.
And maybe I'm off base, and if I am, then just tell me to sit down. When it's all said and done, will Grayson Allen have a better career or be better than Kyle Korver was?
I don't know why. I weirdly thought you were going to go JJ Redick because I was like,
oh, JJ's cool too, but sure, yeah.
No, is the short version. I mean, he has the potential to be, but it's more of just it's way too early.
Yeah.
Kyle Korver is one of the greatest 3-point shooters of all time and had a near 20-year NBA career. So it's kind of hard for me to be like, do I think Grayson Allen could maybe be that? I think he could maybe be a little more complete of a player than Kyle Korver was. But no, I mean, I don't think he has that. Like Korver had that one elite skill. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't think Grayson Allen has an elite skill necessarily.
So that's why I bring it up. So I did just compare them. Kyle Korver played 1,232 games, and in terms of it's probably too early to talk about it. Grayson Allen's only played 339. But to that, you think of Kyle Korver, you think of the 3-pointers, and Kyle Korver does, over his career, have a better 3-point percentage than Grayson Allen does right now at 42%, 42.9, so really rounded up to 43 at that point. But Grayson Allen's like right there, 41.2. Like he is also up there. I wonder if when it's all said and done, where he'll be compared, in the grand scheme of things. It is definitely interesting. He's obviously averaging more points and playing time and all that stuff. But again, Kyle Korver played a lot more games and towards the back end of careers, and positions change at that point. So it's hard to compare them right now. But at first look, I wonder if there's a point where Grayson Allen starts getting those comparisons because of his high percentages and consistency, which is what I think the Suns are essentially paying him for.
Oh, I mean, I agree with that latter part for sure. I don't know. I guess stylistically, I just don't have the thought to compare them as much, I guess.
That's fair.
But I think Grayson Allen, his ceiling is kind of what it is now. Like, I think he can be a solid NBA starter, high-end bench guy for another decade plus. And I'm not saying that as an insult. Like, that is
sure
a great ceiling to have. Like, anytime you have a multi-year NBA career where you're playing meaningful minutes, like
100%.
I'm always going to give credit to that.
100%.
Switching gears here in warm-up jumper, somebody who will not be having any more meaningful NBA minutes is Jontay Porter, because he is banned for life for gambling. The NBA making the news or making the announcement this week. All sorts of transactions. Of course, the ones we talked about initially when this broke were taking himself out of a game, the betting the unders. There were bets on the Raptors to lose. Again, it's just super damning. And I think the NBA is really lucky that Jontay Porter is a role player, that no one is really going to miss as much, and that this is not a star, because we talked about this a little bit when it broke. It's like you flirted so much with danger with the amount that, integrating gambling into League Pass and having every segment sponsored by insert betting company here. Like, yeah, this is a cardinal sin that Jontay Porter committed, and I have no problem with him being banned for life. But I'm also looking around the NBA like, are y'all surprised by this right now?
Well, and what I wonder is the teammates' reaction. Like, if you're a team and you're supposed to be going out here trying to win, and I know, where they were probably going to finish, after trades happened is what it is. But if you're a teammate and you see one of your own players is betting against your own team, like, how do you even handle that? Like, that's like, damn, dude, you didn't even think, you're walking in the locker room already expecting a loss and trying to make money off of it. But yeah, I mean, we've talked about this more in depth back when the news was first coming out, and we essentially landed on this. Is like lifetime ban. You got to come down hard, and you got to show, this can't slide. This can't be a thing that's even remotely a thing. And yeah, it could have gotten real ugly if it's somebody that's a bigger star in the NBA.
And I think it's more like, if you bet on basketball, no matter what, it's bad. But I think maybe you could have won some public support if you said, you know what, I'm betting on myself tonight. I'm going off.
Sure.
I'm going
exactly.
Like, I'm taking all my overs. But it's like, Jontay, you were taking your unders and then subbing yourself out of games. Like, that's legit a major integrity issue.
And you and I talked about this, and you disagreed more than I did. But I do not hate the idea of, like, I don't know, say Klay Thompson's out. He's like, I just put 10K on the Warriors to win tonight, which in hindsight probably wouldn't have been a good move. But I like that. That's like pre-fight hype me up, man. Oh, Klay just put 10K on his own team. Let's go. But on the other side of it, if you start betting against yourself, it's like, yeesh.
And
or like Draymond Green.
Team, there's a lot of collusion there potentially. It's like, hey, I'm going to kick you X, bet on yourself tonight, and we're going to throw it on the other end a little bit. Like, anyone that's betting on basketball needs to be gambled, or needs to be banned for sure. Now, the one thing I don't like about this conversation, and because I don't disagree with it, but I hate the people who go, oh, well, you banned somebody for gambling, but you let them back in for domestic violence.
Well,
I agree that optic is really bad, but I'm like, no, you can do both. Like, that's kind of my point. It's like, no, the NBA absolutely is right banning him for gambling. And you know what? They probably should have banned Miles Bridges too for felony and domestic violence. Like, that's the thing, is it's like, stop trying to catch people on like moral principles. I think most people, like, no one is in the NBA for being light on domestic violence. Like, quite the opposite. Like, I feel like everyone pretty much wants them to be harder on it.
I agree. And yeah, you get into the whole gotcha mindset of really social media in general.
But it's bad faith.
Yeah. Also, I did want to point out that I thought it was hilarious. Larry Nance Jr.'s press conference. If you didn't see this, they were asking him about the Pelicans going up against OKC, and his response was, "I'm betting on myself. And I'm not actually betting. No Jontay Porter. I'm just saying."
They take off. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, listen, it's kind of funny. I like it.
Also, wildly underrated part of that comment is either Larry Nance doesn't understand how apps work, or he just said it wrong, because afterwards he said, I don't own a betting app. None of that. I'm like, well, you don't really own.
Listen, he's
an app.
Extra saying, I'm not involved with this. I like my NBA paycheck.
Yeah,
I'm playing basketball. And you know what? I can understand that, Larry Nance.
Good for him, and good for the Pelicans. Obviously, we are going to talk a lot about the first round and the play-ins now that we are officially past the play-ins and going towards the first round. I believe we have a game. Games are starting tonight as of recording this episode.
Yeah, so we get all our previews in. Like, I hate saying it's a jam-packed episode, but I mean, look, let's be honest. This is a jam-packed episode of the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. Welcome, everybody. My name is Kevin Rafuse. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Justin Cousart.
Foot-long pretzel or foot-long churro? Why not both? Oh, my.
I mean, why not both is right. Because they technically are. I mean, listen, I don't consider a pretzel a dessert. I don't know what it is. It's delicious. And it's, unless you, I guess if you put like cinnamon sugar on it, or like it's one of those, but like a traditional soft pretzel, I don't really consider a dessert.
Yeah.
Where like a churro is definitely a dessert to me.
Churros for sure a dessert. Yeah.
I've got a wild question. I can't believe we're getting off topic again, but I'm going to ask you this again, because this is a debate that me and our pal Nick Renowitz and Andy Jordan have had for a long time.
Okay.
Is a churro a donut?
Oh, I mean, I guess technically that's like a harder donut.
Nick says it's a donut. Like, this is his whole thing. Like, Andy and I just every time. But I've also then had a churro flavored donut, and I'm like, well, wait a minute.
Well, hey,
it's like it's a donut flavored donut, is what you're telling me.
Isn't that just a cinnamon donut at that point?
I mean, kind of, yeah. So that's kind of, that's where I go back and forth on it. But I just want to take the temp there.
Well, I agree. Yeah, I like that. I like that debate. But
who had that tweet?
That was Klay Thompson, who's a Subway partner, in case you were wondering.
Oh, okay.
I feel like it was fitting for 420. We talk about snack foods and all that stuff. I will say, not that, hey, Subway, cut the check, yo.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool.
A very underrated part of Subway now. Like, yeah, they had the $5 footlong stuff, but the footlong pretzel, the footlong churro, and the footlong cookie, yo, it's like they're like $2 to $3. They're legit, man.
Yeah, their cookies were kind of crazy back in the day. I gotta be honest, I ate so much Subway my freshman year of college that
I haven't had it in so long.
I burned myself out. I haven't had it in years, man. Like, I truly think it's been a decade since I've had Subway.
We could do a whole episode on this 1 year of my life where I was essentially homeless. I'm dead serious. I was
I believe you.
In college. It was a whole summer where I was essentially living at my friend's place that his parents rented for him. But his parents weren't allowed to know I was there, so I wasn't allowed to use the water or electricity. So it was quite literally just a building so that I could be not outside.
Where did you shower?
I had to go to a friend's house, or I had to go to the Flagler gym to shower.
Oh, that's wild. I mean, I get it. Like, the Flagler gym is like, whenever, God forbid, power would go out, I'd go to whatever and shower there. But
so in that time frame, I didn't have a car, so I'd have to bike like 2 miles to my work. I worked at this bar in downtown St. Augustine, but the only like really affordable place that you pass, because St. Augustine doesn't let, like you have to be locally owned to be downtown. So there was no restaurants or anything that I could really hit that wasn't too expensive or touristy.
Right.
Subway was the only spot I could hit because it was right on the border, right off like heading back to my house. So yeah, I ate Subway like 3 times a day for an entire summer. And it was like quite literally one of the most miserable experiences of my life. Not the Subway part, but the whole summer. I look back and I'm just like, what was I doing? But that's a whole nother tangent for a whole nother day. We got basketball to talk about.
Yeah, you were in the trenches. I mean, I'm glad you're not in the trenches anymore. That was a different level of
dude,
I guess.
Dude, like you couldn't even use the bathroom in the house.
Yeah, not letting them. They're not going to notice the water being that different. Like, give me a break. Like, what are we talking about?
Well, but I listen, man. I just needed a house. I just needed a roof.
Oh no, I get it. I'm more just like, are they really going to notice that big of a difference in the water? Like the electricity, maybe, but like
his dad was rich, like owns a ski resort.
Dude, what are you worried about? Like, what are we talking? Oh my god! All right,
yeah.
Leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad. Or read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Player FM, anywhere you find a podcast, you can find us.
And there is a video version on our YouTube. You can search Drive and Dish NBA on YouTube. Subscribe there. You'll also get notifications when the episodes are coming out.
Now, a word from our sponsors.
So let's start in the West for first round previews, but also a little bit of play-in reaction. So if you didn't know, out of the play-in, the Pelicans and the Lakers are the 2 successful teams to get out of there. So I feel like the first direction to go is the elephant in the room. The Golden State Warriors are not in the playoffs for the Western Conference.
Yeah, the Golden State Warriors are not in the playoffs, and I think there is rightfully going to be a lot of discussion about what comes next. And I think there is a very high chance that we've seen Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green play their last 3 games together.
Might be.
Klay, in particular, certainly seems like he's going to test the market. He's trying to get $135 million. I don't know that I put it this way. I don't think the Warriors are going to give him that. Lord knows that play-in game was probably not the most helpful to getting that contract either. I mean, an all-time stinker from Klay in that game. I'm pulling up the box score. Yeah, 0 of 10, 0 points, 0 of 6 from beyond the arc, 4 boards, 1 assist. Yikes. It was bad. There's no way around it.
I would say I feel like the 2 players that really laid a stink were Klay. And then also, I know CJ McCollum had a horrible game for the Pelicans against the Lakers, yet the Pelicans didn't, they were still able to rally. So good for them. Whereas obviously the Warriors, they were not. So you're going to get looked at differently because a win's a win, and winning fixes everything. And you didn't win for the Warriors. So now you got to take a deep look as to what the heck is going on. And what's next? And I think it's worth mentioning, Sabonis adds another win. Oh no, sorry. I'm thinking that's the Lakers. Sorry. I was like, oh my God, did he get another one? That's the Lakers, but we can talk about that again.
If the Pels won, we thought that would have been a chance to put that record up on the line. To recap the final scores, in the West, it was Lakers 110-106 over the Pelicans to clinch 7. And then the Kings beat the Warriors 118-94. And then last night, the Pelicans beat the Kings 105-98. Obviously, we'll talk Pelicans in a second too. The big story there with Zion. I mean, for the Kings, look, this is an admirable effort. I mean, look, they beat the doors off the Warriors. I mean, Keegan Murray phenomenal in that game. Keon Ellis was phenomenal in that game. Like they got everything they needed out of their starters. Harrison Barnes had 17 points. Like they really took it to them on their home floor. Like you got to give them credit. I think last night, again, the issue with the Kings is something that we talked about going into it, and why I had just less faith in them than I did last year is just the amount of injuries they had. Like specifically Malik Monk, like missing that extra punch off the bench, who was so good for them all year. And Herter to a lesser extent as well. But I thought Keon Ellis played admirable, especially in the first game, played admirable in that spot.
And Malik Monk's going to be a big, he's got free agency this offseason. What do they do? I think it's worth mentioning. I read that the Kings get to retain their first round pick, which is lottery protected this year. So that's good for them in terms of whatever they're going to try to do. The stat I was looking for actually was the Pelicans are now 6-0 against the Kings this season.
Wow. Okay.
So that was the stat I was looking for. So, the Sabonis talk as for how he's able to get the best of Anthony Davis apparently can't figure out, the Kings, or the Pelicans. Man, it's a bummer that, the Pelicans or the Kings, God, I keep getting them backwards. The Kings aren't going to make the playoffs this year when really they had 46 wins. They were not much worse in terms of record than they were last year. And last year they were a 3rd seed.
Yeah, they just fell victim to the conference. And on one hand, because it's you got your revenge against the Warriors, right? Like the Warriors eliminated you last year. You eliminated them this year. Like I thought that's a big step for them. Unfortunately, though, not getting the full 7-game series, especially too against OKC. Like, and that was the discussion with the Lakers. Like there were some people arguing, and obviously you shouldn't do this, but there were some people arguing that they should intentionally throw that game to avoid Denver at 2. Like it feels like I think OKC was going to beat and is going to beat, as we get into the preview, whoever is in this 8 seed right now, and now with it being New Orleans there. But I mean, they're more vulnerable, one would think, in a first round series than, in my opinion, at least Minnesota and Denver both are. And so I think you feel like it's a missed opportunity there. And again, it kind of, like last night to me just showed it's where the injuries showed up. Like they got what they needed out of their top guys. Like you had 35 out of De'Aaron Fox last night. You got 23 out of Sabonis on 9 of 14 shooting. Harrison Barnes gave you 17. Keegan was a little down. He only gave you 11, but the Pelicans just way more balanced. Like Ingram had 24, Valanciunas had 19, Trey Murphy had 16 off the bench. Larry Nance had 13, Alvarado had 10, Marshall had 11. And that's the thing. Like CJ McCollum only had 7 points last night. Like, but the Pelicans could make up for that. And that's really a testament to them too, without Zion, because Zion was phenomenal in the first 3 quarters of that play-in game against the Lakers. Like, I think there's a greater discussion with the Pelicans there, is where it's just like, man, every time you think you finally got it going and you're ready to turn it on, there just seems to be a setback there. And that's just been the story of this team the past couple of years. But nevertheless, I think it's a really gritty win for them to bounce back with no Zion and, punch their playoff spot here. Again, I think it's going to come to an end against Oklahoma City, but I think it would have been really disappointing for them not to make anything after. I mean, they were more or less in the 6th seed until the final day of the season. Like the Suns just jumped them. So for them to not get a full series, I think they'd have been really disappointed about that.
Well, and one last thought, I guess, for the Kings side of this, as like you said, although I will say, I guess my hot take ish is really, other than maybe in this first round matchup, the Nuggets, and I probably should put the Celtics in that list, you can really see the underdog winning in those matchups. I don't think there's like, those are the only two games that I'm kind of like, yeah, Nuggets are probably just going to wax the Lakers, although it feels weird saying against LeBron, but it's the Nuggets. They're the defending champs. Celtics, best record, and by far the best record. So you think they put it to the Heat again, although we know what happened last year, and with the Heat in the playoffs, you know how that goes. But you tell me Thunder Pelicans, Clippers Mavericks, Timberwolves Suns, Cavs Magic, Bucks Pacers. Yeah. Oh, and Knicks 76ers. Like, yeah, I can foresee the lower seed winning in pretty much all of those matchups. I don't think it's plausible in some of them, but you can definitely make a very good argument for it.
Yeah, there's no easy first round matchups across the board, really. I mean, there's no Boston for sure, as we'll get into later, with not having Jimmy is a massive break for them in the first round. But yeah, there's nobody else here. The rest of these are pretty even across the board. I do want to stay west though. So, you mentioned I think the Thunder are probably going to win in like 6 games against the Pelicans. You mentioned the Lakers and Nuggets. I don't know why people, and again, this feels so weird. You just hit it on the head a second ago, saying this about a LeBron James team. Why are we giving the Lakers any chance of winning this series? Like, Denver has just beaten the crap out of them for 2.5 straight seasons.
Yeah.
There hasn't been any inclination of that showing down now. Denver's arguably playing. I know, weird stumble against San Antonio aside, they're playing their best basketball of the season. Like, every time we hear the Lakers being like, all right, we know what a rivalry game this is. We know we want to get our lick back, essentially, which is fair. Like, that's what I want to hear if I'm the Lakers, but they've had no success of doing that so far. I've got Denver in 5. Like, I don't know why we're giving the Lakers so much credit here when they haven't been able to beat them for 2 years now.
I agree. I think at the end of the day, it's because LeBron James gets the benefit of the doubt a little bit. Even though maybe they shouldn't in a way.
Oh,
I guess it's kind of what it boils down to.
Listen, you get the LeBron and AD doubt because they've earned that and they have a title together. Like, that shouldn't be downplayed, but it's just like, look, you could have talked me into it last year where I'm like, okay, you lose a playoff series, you get super motivated. And then they just went out and got beat again. And it's just like every regular season matchups have been dominated. Like, Jokic has basically Anthony Davis in a headlock at this point.
Yep.
I don't know. Like, this Lakers team has been good, but they've been inconsistent a lot too. And I just think Denver knows. I think Denver is still the best team in the West. Spoiler alert. I don't think they're getting bounced in the first round by the Lakers.
No, I don't. I mean, I guess if you're going to try to make an argument, Jeff Green and Brown are out, who were big in last year's run. So you got some younger guys stepping up, but really, haven't given you any reason to be worried about them stepping up. So, there it is. That's all it is.
You've got what you needed out of a lot of these guys. Like, Christian Brown has been good. Peyton Watson has been serviceable. Like, I'm not going to act like they're not missing some of these guys for sure, but I guess it just doesn't really matter as much when Aaron Gordon still fits in there as well as he does. And if Jokic and Murray are playing to the best of their abilities, like,
worth mentioning, series averages this year for both teams. The Nuggets are around 114 points, and the Lakers are actually a little higher at 118 points. I don't really think that means anything except for if you're going to try to bet the over-under on total score. Really, that's about all you got out of it, which I will be doing. I'm not going to lie about that. So,
Minnesota and Phoenix, the 3-6 matchup. A little bit of spice here. Bradley Beal and Anthony Edwards talking to each other at the end of the regular season. I still feel good about Minnesota, though, overall. Like, I'm high on them. I think they've been one of the better teams, not just in the West, but in the league all year long. Phoenix has given us glimpses, and they ended strong. And I think getting into that 6th seed was so crucial for them, avoiding that play-in game. But there's just still there's too much inconsistency around Phoenix for me to really be, bullish on them beating this team in a 7-game series. Minnesota, especially defensively, has really figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, when you have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and Bradley Beal,
you really want to give them the benefit of the doubt a little bit. I get it.
Because if they're at their peak, they will sway a game just off that. Like, I'm not going to downplay that, but I need to see it all the time because it feels like if they're not going, like, there just isn't enough depth there.
Well,
there's no guy to pick them up and carry them.
I guess if you're talking about that, the Timberwolves rebuttal is we've got Anthony Edwards and Cat and Gobert. Like, that's like, what are you gonna do? You know, the Timberwolves are sneaky. The one team that I do really want to come out of the West. Like, I would prefer them to be in the NBA Finals from the West. I want that for the Timberwolves. I'm kind of rooting for that for the Timberwolves. We'll see if they can get there. And it would be a huge statement to knock Kevin Durant, Booker, and Bradley Beal out of the playoffs in the first round. And then you can ride that wave, you know, like, it's not going to be an easy path if you do get past the Suns. But anybody can say that if they're going to go to the finals, right? You're probably going up against the Nuggets. Dude, if you knock out the Suns and then the Nuggets, I don't care who you're throwing at me from Thunder, Pelicans, Clippers, Mavs. My money's on Timberwolves at that point.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that gauntlet. The good news for the Suns, I mean, and some things are worth mentioning. The Suns were 3-0 against Phoenix against Minnesota this year.
Yeah.
They beat them twice in that 10-game stretch that we just talked about. Like, and that's with, again, Phoenix fighting for their lives and with Minnesota fighting for seeds. So it's not like they just, had nobody there. With the main three on the floor, they've had one of the best offensive ratings in basketball. And for large portions of the season, obviously, we know they didn't have Bradley Beal. So, I mean, these are the reasons to be bullish there. Minnesota obviously gets their own boost with Karl Anthony Towns coming back off the meniscus tear. So, getting him back in the lineup late. I'm interested to see. I want to see what Minnesota is going to do with Kyle Anderson this series because they have Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and he can space the floor, I think, a little more than Kyle Anderson. Like, Kyle Anderson's a better defender, but Alexander Walker's a pretty good defender in his own right, too. And I wonder late, because they've had Anderson in a lot of these closing lineups, right? And, like, you're going to have Conley on the floor. You're going to have Gobert and Towns on the floor, and you're going to have Dan on the floor. I wonder, because Phoenix is such a more offensive-oriented team, like, you wonder if you don't try to make your own move. Like, I'm not suggesting you should try to maybe score as much with Phoenix, but I think maybe you add a little more pace to that lineup. That would be kind of the adjustment that I would maybe want to watch here.
Interested to see if they do it. It'll just be, I mean, that's playoff basketball, right? Are the coaches able to make those adjustments? Are they able to outsmart each other, or do they outsmart themselves and kind of break the mold as to what they're used to doing, and then it throws the whole team into shambles,
This is really interesting because I didn't, again, not to just keep bringing it back to betting, but the Wolves are the underdogs in a lot of these, like, series wins. Like, there are a lot of books that have Phoenix as the favorite. It's a close one.
No, they should, because of the average NBA fan.
The Wolves are a 3. They've been one of the best teams all year. I get that it's a bad matchup for them, but, like, should
an average NBA fan is going to see the Suns and the Timberwolves and go, "Oh yeah, Kevin Durant."
If the average NBA fan hasn't watched Phoenix struggle and be inconsistent all year long.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. That's why people are going to put the money on the Suns in that scenario. They go, "Oh, Kevin Durant, yeah. Oh, Devin Booker dated one of the Jenner sisters." Let's go. That's it. That's literally how it's going to happen. Anthony Edwards, Cat, Gobert are not as big star power names as Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, and that's why people are going to put their money on the Suns.
I agree with that, but I mean, this, and I know, shout out to Dan Devine for the heads up. Phoenix has defended Anthony Edwards best out of any team this season. Like, they've had the most success against him. So, like I said, there are reasons to like this matchup for the Suns. I don't know. I think I'm also giving Chris Finch the benefit of the doubt. Like, I'm just hoping that you figure some sort of counter here.
I do too.
Like, this to me, Like, I think this will be closer than the 4-5 matchup will be. And I know that sounds crazy, but
Well,
like,
I think a lot of the
I think the
4-5.
Mavs are going to cruise. Like, I don't know. The Mavs have figured it out, and I don't know the Clippers have. And if Kawhi's knee is not 100% again come playoff time, then yeah, I think the Mavs just that starting lineup, the way they ended the season, I'm real bullish on them. They can surprise people.
Well, that's what I just pulled up. I was pulling up stats per player for the last 15 games. And there's a few observations that you make, but Luka is cooking, percentage wise and scoring and just so good. But it is also worth mentioning that Devin Booker is up there, almost shooting 50% field goal in the last 15 games of the season. No surprise, Jalen Brunson's number one on that list, which we'll talk about that matchup later. But yeah, man, I just think, if I'm giving my predictions for the first round, I'm with you. I think the Mavericks get through it. Luka and Kawhi is going to be an interesting matchup because I think, like you said, Kawhi's knee, if he's not able to be 100%, he's not going to be able to keep up with Luka, and we'll see where that goes. I think the Thunder get past the Pelicans, though I think it's closer. I think that goes either 6 or 7 games. Timberwolves, I think, probably goes 7 games, but Timberwolves get it. I think Nuggets get it easy. So I think we got a Timberwolves Nuggets matchup, a Mavericks Thunder matchup. And I think in the conference finals, if I can predict even one more, I want Mavericks Timberwolves.
Yeah, Dallas, when I look at futures, I guess, and like who I could see what the ceiling is for each of these teams. Like Dallas is the one sleeper here where I'm like, they could get all the way to the conference finals and I wouldn't bat my eye. And especially the way that the bracket broke too. Like you're going to avoid Denver or Minnesota in the second round. Like,
until the
if
final.
I get Dallas OKC, spoiler alert, and I'm sure everybody in OKC already probably hates me by the end of this podcast, but like I would take Dallas in that series. Like I think they would be the team to beat.
I think I would too. I forgot to mention this. I am excited for like the younger stars to be going up against each other, depending on where Zion is with the injury. Like Thunder Pelicans is awesome because you get 2 rising teams, 2 younger team stars that are starting to make this transition into being some of the faces of the NBA. You're going to get that matchup in the first round, and hopefully we will have that for years to come. And yeah, but I agree with you. I think Mavericks can eat out of all these teams, probably have the easier path to get to the conference finals. And then what you hope at that scenario, if you are the Mavericks and not saying they would, but say they get past the Thunder in 5 or 6 games, and Timberwolves Nuggets or even Timberwolves Suns goes 7 games and it's just a bloodbath, you're sitting there as the Mavericks like, look, either team's getting out of this and they are going to be hobbled. And you just come out fast and you take it to them. And that's an easy trip to the finals.
So none of us are giving the Clippers here any chance then, huh?
We should be, but I'm not.
It's just the way they ended. Like it felt like they had figured it out, but like you got Ty Lue calling their identity soft. I don't know. Like I've seen the James Harden movie now firsthand before.
Yeah.
I think Kawhi movie or Kawhi injury movies before. They also haven't played each other since before Christmas, so like it's hard to have any, a radically different Dallas team than obviously. Again, if Kawhi is playing at peak Kawhi level, I think Clippers can beat anybody.
Well, what's crazy is
I don't know that he will be.
Yeah, you look at their record. I mean, obviously they're literally only a 1-game difference, but home and away, there's no difference in their record from that either. Conference, all of it. They're essentially, if you're just looking at record, they're essentially the same team. One team has a lot of positive vibes going into the playoffs, and the other one doesn't right now, and that's just where it lands right now. So I think the I think the Mavs take it to them. They're going to ride this wave. I really want the Timberwolves to. I really, 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 really want it to be a conference finals of Mavericks Timberwolves. That would be my ideal situation coming out of the West.
Yeah, I guess to run through and just I'm going to put them on Twitter as well, but just to run through my picks of everybody. I'm going to have OKC in 6 in the first round. I'm going to have Denver in 5. I'm going to have Minnesota in 7. And I'm going to have Dallas in 6.
Okay.
That's where I'm at in the Western Conference right now.
What did you say Nuggets was? 5?
Yeah, I have Nuggets in 5.
Okay.
Playing game wise, I did okay. I got Sixers over Heat. I got Bulls over Hawks.
Although I'll tell you what, man, the Sixers really.
Okay,
with even 0.3 seconds in the game, they were trying to piss me off.
We're going to do the Sixers in a little bit, but I got those two. I'm an idiot on pick. I guess I'll save my East. I picked Chicago over the Heat, and I'm an idiot, and I'm going to apologize for that here in a little bit. So I knew better than that. But out West, I did a little worse. I got Lakers over Pelicans. I had Warriors over Kings, obviously wrong about that. And then I picked Kings over Pelicans last night, and I was wrong about that as well. So, we'll take that for what it's worth. But before we get into the East, why don't we switch gears a little bit? Get into some who's balling, who's falling, our NBA version of the stock market. We always like to start with the good before the bad. So, Justin, I will start with you. Who's balling this week?
So, balling for me is Jonas Valanciunas, who we cannot find these stats for the life of us, which is probably another conversation, but he played in his 8th play-in game the other night. He has been a part of all play-in games in all 5 years that it has existed. The reason this was posted on Reddit is they were asking if he is the play-in GOAT. And so I was going to grab stats, but dude, you can't, what does the NBA consider the play-in tournament? Regular season, playoff? Because you can't find them anywhere, at least on Basketball Reference.
It's a statistical black hole. I think they were talking about this on one of the broadcasts, because it's not a regular season game, but it's not technically the playoffs either, because if you're one team, you get eliminated. And so you have these masterful performances sometimes that just don't really count towards anything. Like Kobe White scored 42 points the other night. It just kind of doesn't exist. It's the same sort of problem with these in-season tournament games. And the NBA is obviously going to have to make their own database for them, because they shouldn't be playoff stats, but they should be regular season stats either. But yeah, it is. I'm trying to think, if DeRozan and the Bulls had won last night and beat the Heat, then I think there'd be an argument for DeRozan to be the play-in GOAT. But I mean, hey, if Valanciunas just keeps winning these play-in games, it's pretty hard to argue with that.
Well, and I was trying to pull it up. I might not be able to find it quick enough. Oh, yes. Here we go. Okay, so Kobe White dropped 42 points. You got to be pissed off if you're Kobe White that none of that just counts towards nothing. I
mean, it does not count towards nothing. They won the game.
Okay, fine, but statistically, your 42-point game is just gone after that. Cool, you won by 42 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists.
It didn't happen though. It's on video. It's we got to go.
I know, but years. I don't know. You're not gonna be able to go back and I don't know. It doesn't count for playoff stats. What are we doing here?
No, I know.
So weird.
You wonder too. I mean, I don't think there's play-in incentives and contracts and anything, but you wonder if it's I have an absolute smoker in the last game of the season. Does it count? Does it not? Right.
I dropped 42 points, had 9 rebounds. I almost had a crazy awesome double here, and really you had 6 assists. So you were starting to approach triple-double watch, and none of those stats are going towards anything. Yeah. Other than you won to get waxed by the Heat. Cool.
Well, yeah, and then that's a whole other story in itself.
All right.
Ballin for me is Team USA. The roster officially announced for the Olympics in full. Devin Booker, Steph Curry, Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, Drew Holiday, Kevin Durant, LeBron, Kawhi Leonard, Jason Tatum, Anthony Davis, Bam Adebayo, and Joel Embiid. First Olympics for Joel, for Kawhi, for Tyrese Halliburton, for Anthony Edwards, excuse me, and Steph Curry, believe it or not. First Olympics for him. Obviously, LeBron been here the most, 2004, 2008, 2012, though first time he's played in a few years. KD, the most consistent, returning from last Olympics. Tatum, Bam, Drew Holiday, Devin Booker also returning from last Olympics. Of course, Team USA did win the gold there. I look at this roster and I say to the rest of the world, good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
It's perfect. Like there's it's literally perfect.
But also, does Kawhi need to be playing on that knee? Like we've already talked about this off the mic, but like, part of me, I feel a little bit the same way as Joel Embiid. Like it's like, hey, how about we rest? How about we chill out? We get real healthy in the off season. But again, I get it, playing for your country, and it's gonna be a bloodbath.
Yeah, hopefully. They should cruise. I mean, I guess the snubs, if you will, like the first players left off to me would be like Jimmy Butler and Kyrie.
Sure. Yeah.
I always do the game though of then who do you replace on it?
Yeah.
And
No, you're not replacing anybody.
I guess Halliburton, but even then I'm like, I don't really feel that strongly about it. Like Hallie was great this year. So
yeah.
And I think you need a point guard.
Hallie's another one though that's like his plays kind of like slimmed down at the end of the year because of injury, and it's like maybe we get healthy.
They close strong though, and they
I know. It just a lot of at least for me specifically with Kawhi more than anybody, but the initial reaction was like, does this dude need more basketball considering he doesn't play much basketball to begin with? But yeah, excited for it, obviously.
Last one's too likely for LeBron, KD, and Steph. So definitely
sunset it
together, go out on a high note.
Yep. Sunset it together. And I bet that's probably a big drive for a lot of the other guys to play too, is like be on this last team with these guys, you know?
Yeah, of course. I mean, especially for the Olympics, like FIBA obviously gets great rosters too, but like the Olympics is always going to get the peak roster if everybody cares. And I think with LeBron and Steph, that instantly, when you have guys of that stature, I think it gets instant credibility.
Yeah, I agree. So my Fallin is it's not actually Fallin, it's more just like a sad because it's over. Blake Griffin is officially retiring from the NBA. 6-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA, 2010, 2011 All-Rookie, Rookie of the Year in 2010, 2011, career stats 19 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. Though I don't think that, shows most of the story because towards the back end of the career, he was, playing less minutes and playing different roles than what he was at the beginning. But great career, and sad to see that it's over.
Yeah, I mean, he's just one of those guys. It was combo of two things, right? Like Blake was such a great athlete that it was one of those where if the athletic ability
is going to go, yeah.
I mean, and he was an underrated shooter, I think, overall.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, we knew Blake out the gate. Like he was the guy who invented Mozgoving, right? Like just posters left and right. When you think of Lob City, he's probably the guy that was, getting the most lobs there.
Well, weirdly enough, when I think of Lob City, for whatever reason, I think of DeAndre Jordan, but that's a whole other.
I mean, it's that because it was those two getting the lobs from Chris Paul. But no, I mean, will most likely be remembered as a Clipper. I mean, averaging 20 plus points a year or game a year, you know what I'm saying, from 2011 to 2018. And I mean, honestly, like the injuries didn't really fully undo his career until probably after 2019. I mean, the first 2 years, like he just got exiled to Detroit, basically, when they went and made that trade. Like those teams were just never really going anywhere. But Blake had them in the playoffs, like especially that second year, 2018, 2019 in Detroit. He was phenomenal, like averaging 24 and a half points a game a season, 7 boards, almost 5 or over 5 assists a game. Like his career was hella underrated in Detroit. And I think that's probably where, if you really go back and watch the tape, like you can appreciate Blake Griffin for just how good he was. Like I think maybe part of that gets lost when he was playing with a guy like Chris Paul at his peak and DeAndre Jordan at his peak and all those other, Jamal Crawford, JJ Redick, all those other great players that the Clippers teams had. But I mean, yeah, last few years with Detroit, I mean, you can see the decline post injuries. I mean, only 18 games in 2019, 2020. And then from then on, I mean, towards the end of his Detroit tenure, the 2 years in Brooklyn, like he was a role player. In Boston, he was just coming off the bench at that point. So, I mean, yeah, good for Blake. Like I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer. 5 All NBA teams definitely helps. It's one of at the bare minimum, he's in the Hall of Very Good. And I think probably his career will get underrated because of just how the last few years went with injury. But that first decade of his career was phenomenal.
Yeah, and I for whatever reason, when I go back to think about Blake Griffin, I always think about the hand injury that he had when he punched the team's equipment manager.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I did. I forgot about that.
In Toronto. It was like I actually found the story. It happened in 2016. If you want to go back and find it. Apparently Blake and DeAndre Jordan were good friends with this guy. But yeah, apparently got into a fight at a restaurant. He punched him in the face. The dude left. Blake followed him out and hit him again. And then what I can't remember is I remember he had a quote unquote fall in a bathtub, which broke his hand. And I can't remember if these were the same times or if it was like two separate times that there was a break. But either way, two really random, weird stories that I just always think of with Blake Griffin back in those Clippers days. It's worth mentioning Doc Rivers was there, horrible coach.
Yeah, horrible coach. I agree. Probably held him back a lot of the time. No doubt about it. Blowing plenty of leads there. Blake also jumped over Kia in the dunk contest, so that's
Did do that.
All right, so Fallin for me this week is the future in Detroit for Troy Weaver and Monty Williams. And I say this because the Pistons have announced plans that they're going to hire a new head of basketball operations, right? Which that feels like after a disaster of this year that went 14-68, that is the least that they can do. Obviously, this Weaver and Monty Williams will both report to whoever this head of basketball operations is, but I know generally reading the tea leaves that when they bring in new management, they probably want to clear out old management. And in this case, they probably should.
Well, and if it would be malpractice at this point if the Pistons, who just had the worst season in history for their team, didn't do something to try to fix it. You know what I mean? If you don't do anything to fix it, that to me, I look at that as full on malpractice. Like you're just intentionally trying to suck. And at that point, that's almost worse than the tanking because you're just not doing anything to fix it. Where we were like, we're going to suck because the end result will be Joel Embiid, like that's why we're going to suck. So yeah, I mean, yeah, they should be worried, and we'll see where they go, and hopefully the Pistons can kind of right the ship.
Yeah, I mean, the Pistons got to really be thankful for the Wizards who were 15-67 because if the Wizards don't exist, it's not even close to the Pistons be the worst team. Like the Pistons had 14 wins, the Wizards had 15. The next closest are Charlotte and Portland, and they had 21. That's a pretty big difference.
Yeah.
But all right, let's go back out east and talk about some of these play-in games, the first round as well. Now that everything is set. So of course, to recap the play-in games, the Sixers beat the Heat in the 7-6 game, 105-104. The Bulls just absolutely creamed the Hawks. And then the Heat last night taking out the Bulls 112-91. Again, I'm an idiot because Jimmy Butler got hurt, and I said, you know what? I said, Chicago's got DeRozan. They're definitely going to figure this out. They'll get through.
Nope.
And I grossly underestimated Eric Spoelstra and the culture. And I don't know why, because Miami's a serious franchise and Chicago just kind of isn't. So I don't know. Maybe it's because Chicago almost beat them last year. I said, okay, you don't have Jimmy Butler, but no, I should have known that Spo and Bam and Hero and the guys were going to get it done as they did and punch their ticket to round one with Boston. Obviously, which without Jimmy, I mean, it's a sprain. So in theory, if Miami were to stay alive, he would come back. This isn't a season-ending type injury. And again, all the credit in the world to Jimmy Butler because he was playing on that thing. I mean, that was right at the end of the first quarter, I believe.
Yeah, you definitely noticed he was hobbled by it during the Sixers game. He was
still the fact that he gutted out 3 quarters. The guy was barely walking out of the arena and he gutted out 5 steals in that game. He was great.
That's dude, a whole different sport, but it happened last weekend, and it's just top of mind with the Justin Gaethje Holloway fight. Dude had his nose kicked in, broken in the first round, and fought 4 more rounds.
Yeah,
with a broken nose before he was knocked out with 0.1 seconds left in the whole thing. But to me, that's as similar as Jimmy Butler just playing a whole game on that thing. Dude, I sprained my ankle, I sprained my knee, I sprained whatever. I'm down for months.
Yeah, no, I mean, Jimmy's a warrior. There's nothing else 100%. To be said for that. And I think it's a shame because I think it does. Like we talked about a little bit about this last week. Like this has the potential to be. I mean, we saw what this was last year. Like Miami and Boston. Like we're ready. Like we were ready for the rematch. I'm sure everyone in Miami was itching for that rematch. And I said, again, I think Boston is going to cruise now without Jimmy being healthy. Like I think I will give Miami, again, off Spo and the culture, a game or two maybe. But I think Boston is going to handle their business here as they should. They're significantly the better team without Jimmy Butler. That first game for Boston, they need to come out and just like turn the lights off on Miami early. Because I'll tell you what, and again, a little different without Jimmy, but if Miami goes into Boston and wins that first game, there's going to be a lot of people that are on edge up in Boston and going, hey,
bad vibes.
It's going to happen again. Like we just saw this last year. I'm not worried about it happening again. Again, losing Jimmy, Boston can be overcome, not without Jimmy Butler.
No, definitely not. And even with Jimmy Butler, I think it's still a little. I mean, dude, you look at
KP and Holiday just changed the dynamics on Boston so much. Their bench, I'm a little more worried about, but I just think that top lineup has been great all year.
You look at series averages between the two. Boston's is just like Boston is 120 points to 110, 46 rebounds to 42, 29 assists to 25. Like it's just Jason Tatum's they're leading their series leader at 26 points. Bam's their series leader at 19. I mean, I know Bam's not as much of a scorer as Tatum is. It's just what it is. And especially with Jimmy out, you're going to be relying on Tyler Hero, who has been playing significantly better. Like, let me point that out. Last year, there was a lot of negative vibes with him in the playoffs.
It was like a hurt.
Yeah, but it's very different now. Like, that Hero like step back fadeaway three that he did, or corner shot that he did against the 76ers. I think he actually might have done it against Caruso. Now that I'm thinking about it, it might have been the Bulls. But either way, I was like, oh, that's beautiful. Like, that's a good shot.
Hero was great in the fourth quarter against the Sixers, and it probably will get lost because they just obviously lost the game. But Hero hit a ton of clutch shots.
Because you know why it gets lost? Because our boy Lockdown Batum blocked him at the very end. That's why
he blocked him at the end, and he forced the backcourt on the possession before. And so I think that's unfortunately too what's going to stick with it, because Hero hit. I mean, Embiid hits that three. Hero comes down the floor and hits a shot. Like, he hit a floater late that tied the game. Like
my wife could tell you, he hit that three, and I just went, "Oh, damn it, it's over." Like I literally saw him hit that shot, and I was like, "Yeah, we're not winning this."
Well, and credit to the Sixers, because I think that to me with that play-in game that's where I was impressed. Is it was the resiliency, because I mean, up until that fourth, you look at that game and you go, here we are again. It's another Joel Embiid playoff stinker when it mattered. And he came through in the fourth. Give him a lot of credit there. Not just the shot late, not just the free throws. The pass to Oubre, I thought, was money in the bank.
Him and Maxey, when we were going into the fourth quarter, only had 15 points. And I went, oh, no.
Yeah, how it ends. They weren't hitting shots. Like, and Maxey hit a few late, hit a bunch of key free throws late. I think that was important, too.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, you needed somebody to step up and save you, and that's the beauty of the play-in. Is like you get one guy going, and sometimes that's what matters. And in the Sixers' case, this go around, it's Nick Batum, and good for Batum getting his credit. Like Nick has always been the ultimate role player since he's been on Portland. Like he just is one of those guys you want to have on your team. And what I appreciated is that when the Sixers needed someone who wasn't scared of the moment, like it looked like Miami went into that zone, and it looked like Philadelphia had never played basketball before.
They couldn't figure out a simple zone. I was like, what are we doing?
Well, and they're hesitating, man. Like Buddy Hield's getting these looks, and he's hesitating. Maxey's hesitating. It's like somebody has to pull the trigger here. And finally, Batum was just like, "All right, I'll be the guy." And that's what breaks it a little bit. And give Buddy credit. Buddy got a few things going off the bounce a little later, but it's like, guys, pull the trigger. Like, same with Tobias Harris. We don't need to go down that road for the 9 zillionth time, but it's like, pull the trigger if you've got the shot, guys. Like,
go. And I think that's what Embiid said. He told, I think it was Oubre or something. They said in halftime when they were talking, I think he was telling something like, shoot the ball. If you're open, pull the trigger. Do it. Go.
Yeah. And there were, again, a lot of problems, but the Sixers finding a way through that defense. I mean, what cost Miami was their problem all year. It's just like they struggled offensively. Miami's been brilliant defensively all year long. And I mean, Bam played great D, I thought, on Embiid, but he only had 10 points. And so, like, it's one of those things where you needed the offense from somewhere. They didn't necessarily get it against the Sixers. They certainly made it close. I think that's going to be the Heat's issue going up against Boston. Same deal. I mean, they're going to defend well, but I just don't think they have enough firepower. I think that Sixers Heat play-in game was also a really good preview of what's about to come in Sixers Knicks, because I mean, dude, this might as well be a bar fight. Like, this is Tibbs and Nick Nurse, I think, are about to unleash basketball terrorism that we haven't seen on the world in a long time. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these games are like 83-79 at this point. Like, I really think this is just going to be like an old school 90s, put your brass knuckles on and just like, let's get ready to brawl. Like, it is going to be physical. It's going to be a lot of complaining and getting in each other's face. Like, we saw Oubre and DiVincenzo fight this year.
Yeah.
Like, Paul Reed is already poking the bear a little bit, which I don't love as the backup center, but okay. Hartenstein's already accusing Embiid of foul baiting. Like, listen, it's going to be a fun series. The key for the Sixers is Nick Nurse. They got to swarm Jalen Brunson. I mean, you got to force the ball out of Brunson's hands, like make anybody else beat you. For the Knicks, the one thing I love with them is the amount of bigs that they can just throw it. Like, you can put a lot of bodies at Embiid, and even with OG, like, I don't want OG doing the primary defending there, but like, he can help on the double a lot. We mentioned Hartenstein, but getting Mitch Robinson back too is a huge boost for the Knicks.
I alluded to it earlier in the episode. Jalen Brunson, in the last 15 games of the season with all other NBA players, like, significantly has more points at really good percentages, obviously, than the rest of the league. Like, he's leading the league. Last 15 games, 509 points. The next closest is Devin Booker at 393. Like, significantly more points. And we know it was because they were having obviously, like all other teams, they were making a push to the playoffs for the seeding. And so you get it. But I think that right there is a glaring, hey, if you can slow this guy down, you're going to have a chance to win the game. And that's a lot of what it boils down to against the Knicks right now.
Well, and the way that they've stepped up too, again, this is without Julius Randle. Like,
right. Exactly.
Get it all. I've seen a ton of people picking the Knicks in this series. Like, I thought a lot of people would swing to us just because of how we ended the season. And I don't know if it's because of how much Miami was, like, in that game, kind of with Maxey being slow, with Embiid being a little slower.
The Knicks are currently favored by 3.5 points.
In game one or just in general?
In game one.
Okay, I mean, I can see the Sixers win or the Knicks winning game one. Like, they're in the Garden. Like, that to me makes sense. Like, you're in the Garden. The Sixers just played the other night. Like,
in terms of the
Knicks
biggest,
have done well against the Sixers this year. Granted, a lot of these games were without Embiid, but
dude, it's insulting to the Heat that the Boston's favored by 14 points tomorrow. 14 points, dude.
He's not playing. Like, I know, like
14,
man.
Ooh,
14 is kind of crazy when you have Eric,
especially in the NBA. I mean, you've got Orlando's, Cleveland's favored by 5, which actually is kind of surprising that it's that much. Phoenix is only, or I guess Timberwolves are only favored by 1.5. Lakers are, Denver's favored by 7. Dallas is -2. Indies -1.5. Pelicans are +8.5. So yeah, really, I mean, everybody's pretty close except for people just really think Boston are going to work them.
The big thing that I think the Sixers are going to miss, and he had come back late, but it's been real touch and go, is D'Anthony Melton with a back injury. And it doesn't seem like he's going to play today. Melton would be great. I mean, the most effective lineup the Sixers have had all season has been Maxey, Melton, Oubre, Harris, Harris, Batum, and Embiid.
Mm-hmm.
Like Melton is one of the main guys that I would just have Hawk and Brunson all the time. Because if not, I mean, it's going to be a lot of Lowry, who is a guy that has been in this position before. Like, he's somebody I want. Oubre is going to be guarding him a lot, and they did a good job on Jimmy Butler. Granted, again, Jimmy Butler limited, so that is worth mentioning. But they're going to have to do. That's just the key there. They have to limit Brunson and force the ball into these other guys' hands.
Yeah, that's literally, like, it sounds elementary, I guess is the word I'm looking for, but that's really what it boils down to. Make the other guys beat you, and they probably won't.
Yeah.
I say that hesitantly, but that's where it is.
Yeah, I mean, the supporting cast is the key too. Like Embiid, just I don't think is 100%. I
Oh,
think
definitely
he's
not.
getting there, but like, it may come down to the bench in a lot of these cases, and that's where the Knicks have had an advantage all year. Like you got Josh Hart, you got DiVincenzo, like you went out and got Bogdanovich, you got Alec Burks. Like they have a lot of bodies that they can throw at you. That's why we were so bullish on this team with their, you could argue they have the deepest 10 in the NBA. I don't know. This is a really close. Like I think this is a 6 or 7 game series. I'm gonna be a homer and pick the Sixers, but like this is a coin flip to me. And
but I'll be a homer too.
More people aren't calling that.
I'll be a homer too, and say it's the Sixers. I think it is going to go 6 or 7. We'll see. I think the first game is going to tell us a lot as to what to expect. But until then, I think it's kind of a like you said, a coin flip. Now, the one that is going to be really exciting in my mind, also lands a little bit on the excitement level as Thunder Pelicans in terms of young matchup, young stars going at it, is the Cavs and Mavs. Or Cavs and Mavs, Cavs and Magic.
Yeah.
With Mobley and Banchero, like, yes, let's go. Let's get these young guys going at it. I think you and I don't know if it's technically homer, because my immediate thought was like, oh yeah, Orlando's got this. Dude, I think I'm sleeping on the Cavs a little bit. No, I think the Cavs, as long as they're healthy and can stay on the floor, they can win this. They should win this.
Yeah, it's a 4-5 matchup. It's going to be extremely even. Like I had this going 6 or 7 no matter what. I'm in the camp that Orlando's going to win.
I hope they do.
I don't think Cleveland was very good down the stretch, and that's why. And I think even with like Cleveland had Donovan Mitchell in the lineup, and that to me was the more damning part. Like they dealt with a ton of injuries all year. Like Garland's missed time, Mobley's missed time, Mitchell's missed time. Like you name a player on the Cavs, and they probably missed time. There's also still just this lingering bitter taste, I think, from last year where the Knicks just absolutely just ran them off the floor. And so I think in a sense for Cleveland, like everyone's got, and I hate being this guy, but everyone's got Donovan Mitchell in the back of their mind and what's going to happen there. And it feels like you have to have some success with Cleveland. Like it feels like if you lose the series to Orlando, he's gone. It still feels like he may be gone if they lose in the second round, but I think there's a little bit more to argue for there at that point. But yeah, I mean, you do wonder if Cleveland, because Orlando hasn't been here before. Like we know they're one of the fun stories of the year. Their young core finally getting it together. I think it was huge for them, obviously, to avoid the play-in. A little bit of a stumble to end the season. They came out and they got a win when they needed to against the Bucks. For their young core, who we mentioned, this is their coming out party, right? Like not just Banchero, but Franz Wagner and Jalen Suggs, who's really improved this year.
So,
guys like Cole Anthony.
So to that, a few things, like you alluded to, the guys are young. Orlando's young.
Yep.
NBA.com has this stat. They said the one thing to look at in this matchup is 9.2%. And what they said is the Magic shot 11th best in the league, 58.7% in the paint, but had an effective field goal percentage of 49.5%, which is 28th on shots outside the paint, which that's where that 9.2% comes in. That is the league's biggest differential. The Magic rank in the bottom 10 offensively for 11 straight seasons. That's just a side thing to hold. The Cavs, though they took a step back defensively, are one of the best teams at defending in the paint. The top 3 teams were them, the Celtics, and the Thunder. They are in the top 10 for both opponent field goal percentage in the paint and percentage of opponent shots in the paint. That makes me worried for the Orlando Magic. If the Cavs can lock down the paint and the Magic's main way of scoring, one of the best in the league, is the paint, then you start to look at, the Orlando team who's young and hasn't really experienced the playoff play, maybe they start to panic a little bit. They can't figure out how to get in the lane, and they start taking bad shots, and then that 9.2% comes into play. I really like that stat. And I think that's what's leaning me towards Cleveland, though I think the Magic can pull it off. I do worry. And I want the Magic to pull it off, mainly because I want Chase to stop giving me crap.
I did chase his spot on Monday, so go check that out if you want to listen to a Bunkers Burning Hot Take. I was on there.
But yeah, man, I am worried about that. I think the first game will tell you a lot. Look at the Magic's points in the paint, and that will tell you and paint pun intended the story. Yeah, man, that's where I'm at with it.
I think the one thing that I feel good about if I'm Orlando is that their defense is just great. It's been all year. Like you have, for all the things you worry about not translating into the playoffs, I think defense is the one thing you can pretty consistently will translate. Like Suggs has been phenomenal on the perimeter. Jonathan Isaac has been arguably the best defensive player in basketball. Like the Cavs have the personnel to punish them on the interior. Like this needs to be a big Mobley, Jared Allen series to me.
Yeah.
I think if they're able to do that, then we'll be good.
I think it's funny you reference defense. We might in the East have two like very low scoring series between Orlando and Cleveland and the Sixers and Knicks. And I think the books are kind of showing that. Like the over under for Orlando Cleveland's 207. The over under for Philly Knicks is 208. Phoenix and Minnesota for reference is 214. Lakers and Denver for reference are 230. Like, Dallas and Clippers is 223. Indy and Milwaukee's 231. Like, yeah, they really think this is going to be a defensive battle, which will be awesome for us. I mean, maybe average NBA fans who want a lot of scoring will be a little annoyed, but yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah. Last series to get into real quick is Indy and Milwaukee, which of course is the main headline is that Giannis isn't going to be 100%. And I think that's, besides the Bucks struggling just in general down the stretch, that of course is the
huge thing to watch.
That's going to dominate everything as it should. This feels like a defensive optional series right now, which is kind of like for all the defense we talked about in the last one. Like
this was not going to be that.
Guys are flying up and down the court.
Yeah.
Look, we knew what it was. Hallie dealt with the injury a little bit down the stretch, but still one of the better offenses in the league. And Indiana's played really well against Milwaukee during the regular season. I mean, obviously a little bit of chippiness as well. You have the whole Giannis ball game.
Well, what's worth mentioning in the series between the Pacers and stuff, Giannis is used to averaging 42, 13, almost 6 assists. Like he is a big part of those wins that they were having against the Pacers. So if he's at all hobbled, that does leave the door a little open there.
Yeah. Now all those games that they played this year that we mentioned were before the Halliburton injury and before the Siakam trade. So these are radically different teams. Giannis, for as poor as they played, it wasn't really a Giannis problem.
Yeah.
But you also may not have Giannis now at this point. So, I mean, it's going to be, pace-wise too. I'm just expecting this to be a track meet.
If Giannis is out, where is the confidence level on Doc to figure out a lineup?
Low. It's non-existent. Yeah. I mean, my confidence level in Milwaukee is that you have to have Dame just go back to being the focal point of the offense. And we've seen that work in Portland, and that you're going to give Dame enough credit that he's been here before, that, he can get you through a first round series, and then you can buy enough time for Giannis to come back. Cause this calf injury, like it's going to linger. Giannis is going to not be 100% no matter what.
Yeah. So what you get Dame, maybe you rely on Bobby Portis a little bit, Jay Crowder, Gallinari to help with the scoring, and let Dame just cook?
Yeah, I guess. Like I hate all of that. But I don't really know what your choice is.
Well, and on top of that, did have the Pacers shown you any kind of ability to try to slow that down?
To slow the Bucks down?
Yeah, slow down like defensively. I know we talk about the Pacers being a massively offensive leaning team. So like they're just the Pacers' goal just to outscore and outproduce points than the Bucks at that point. And I know that sounds really trivial, but like if you can't slow them down, then it is just a track meet and a race to who can get the most points. And
that kind of works if you're Indy in this case, though. I guess that's my point. It's like, look, I know Chris Middleton is in the healthiest shape he's been in all year. And again, I know you've got Dame, but it's like Dame largely has been kind of down this year. And so, like, do I trust Milwaukee enough to keep pace? Like, are Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis going to give me enough points at this point? I don't think they are. Like, and the Pacers, again, Hallie got slowed. Mathurin went down. That's been a big loss for them. But, God, I don't know. If Giannis isn't healthy, I can see the Pacers winning this in like 6. I mean, I'm talking 6-7 games probably, but I'm leaning Indy right now. Like, more than Giannis gets healthy, it's an entirely different story. I think even with all the struggles they had with Doc Rivers, I think Milwaukee gets through the series. But
it's worth mentioning that I think there's only 3 teams that are the underdogs that are currently favorites, at least on sports betting side of things. Let me see. Hold on. Nope, only 2. So it would be Dallas and the Pacers.
Okay.
Those are the only 2 that are underdogs that are at least on the books right now, considered favorites.
The Knicks and the Sixers should be at least even.
It is.
Or no, the Knicks are the favorites. I was gonna say, okay, yeah, we did.
Knicks are the favorites. Yeah, okay. Knicks are favored by a decent amount, actually.
All right, so to recap these series where I'm at pick wise, I've got Boston in 5. I've got Philly in 7. I've got the Pacers in 6, and I've got the Magic in 7.
Okay. Celtics, definitely, I'm with you. Yeah, 5 probably. Magic, Cavs. Just because you went Magic and I've been a Magic hater all year, I'm going to go Cavs in 6 and be an extra hater. Bucks, Pacers. Oh, man. I'll go Bucks in 7. And then Knicks, 76ers. I'm going to go 76ers in 6.
Okay. All right.
Mainly because I want to be a hater on the Knicks. It's Knicks hate season.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it has to be. That matchup is, like I said, I'm worried about that matchup a little bit here. Housekeeping real quick. Speaking of the Knicks, we have a bonus episode coming for you guys later this week. I spoke with Adam Creeblay, our pal, who just released his new book, Kings of the Garden, the New York Knicks and Their City. So stay tuned for that. That's going to come out in a few days. But, definitely a great chat with Adam. Talking about a lot of older Knicks, too.
We're not allowed to release it until the series is over.
yeah, just stash it for a week and change. But so stay tuned for that coming this week. I know we're like an hour 17 in, but we can speed run grid this week, right? Real quick, just because it's super easy. Yeah, we can. We're gonna do the fastest Immaculate Grid of all time. And the only reason I'm saying we should do this is just because like a lot of these categories are more statistical this week. I would be really bummed if this was a regular episode, but
yeah.
Again, watch the grids on YouTube. Our columns this week from left to right: the Rockets, 10 rebounds a game per season and 20 points per game per season. Our rows from top to bottom: the Bucks, the Nets, and first round draft pick. I feel like just for, do you want to use Jeremy Lin for Nets and Rockets, or do you want to use KJ McDaniels? Both work.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Which I bet, honestly, KJ's probably lower.
I think KJ's definitely lower. Jeremy Lin is popular. KJ McDaniels, we only know because we're Sixers fans.
0.1%, baby. Let's go.
We have probably used KJ McDaniels more in Immaculate Grids than probably everyone else has combined.
100%.
He even be his own family.
Jeremy Lin wasn't a first round pick, right? We couldn't use him for Rockets for that.
Not a first round. I didn't think so. I mean, first round pick for the Rockets, there's a zillion just even on the team right now. For the sake of speed running this, for Bucks and Rockets, you want to do PJ Tucker?
PJ Tucker. I like it. PJ Tucker. Christian Wood. Was he a first rounder? He would be Rockets.
No, I don't think he was a first rounder.
Okay. I was trying to think of something.
First rounders on the team right now. It's like you got Jalen Green, you got Şengün.
Let's go Chris Paul.
Oh, the Rockets?
Yeah. People aren't gonna be thinking that. Chris Paul.
Yeah, well, first round pick, The good thing is you got so many options to work with.
1%, baby.
Jesus, I think that good Lord. All right.
Okay.
10 boards a game per season. The obvious one for both the Bucks and the Nets is Brook Lopez. He works in either place. DeAndre Jordan didn't have 10 for the Nets. He had 10 a game a season at one point, but not for the Nets.
Yeah, this has to be for that team. I'm pretty positive on that one.
I'm trying to think if Garnett was having 10 a season when he was in Brooklyn.
Garnett. Oh boy. Okay.
I don't think he was in Brooklyn.
Let's just go. Let's just go Lopez for Nets. Or who was just there? Allen, Jarrett Allen. Did you think he was at 10?
Oh, yeah.
He's got to be at 10, right?
Yeah, I would certainly think so.
Let's try it. Allen. Jarrett Allen. Let's go for it.
Yeah, he's got to be there.
60, okay.
Yeah. 60, okay.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think that's 16 is probably a little higher than we would want, but 10 rebounds. You just want to go Lopez then? Go the easy, low-hanging fruit?
Is that easy? The more I think about it, I'm like, wait a minute. Is Brook Lopez because he's late in his career in Milwaukee?
Giannis isn't at 10, right? He's not at 10. No, I don't think so. I don't think he is.
A Bucks big men who would be there.
Bucks big man.
Giannis might be a 10, bro.
Should we go Giannis? I don't feel great about it, but he's got to be close.
It's either him or Brook, and I weirdly might feel better about Giannis. All right, we can come back to that. First round draft pick with 10 boards a game per season. I mean, who do you want to start with?
Right.
I guess.
Wait. Oh, never mind. No. He never ended up there.
All right. Well, we got to speed run it. Let me pick this up a little bit. First round draft pick, 10 boards a game per season. Chris Bosh.
Did he have 10?
Definitely.
Ooh, okay. Oh, okay.
3, all right.
Okay. First rounder, 20 points per game is also a lot to pick from.
Go ahead. You got it.
I don't know. Who do we want to go with?
First one that comes to your mind.
Well, no, because I'm like weird. I'm trying to think like Okafor. Did he have 20?
Oh, God.
He might have had 20, dude. He might have had 20. He was close, right? He was like our only scorer.
God, he might. So gross.
That would be so gross.
Did he have 20?
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering. I mean, we could go for a low-hanging fruit, but like you say what comes to my head, and that was the first name that came to my head.
No, I don't feel good about that at all.
I don't either. We could go Paulo.
Yeah, we go. Yeah, do Paulo.
I feel like he's probably not high on anybody's list. Yeah, 1%. There you go.
Okay, cool.
All right, Nets 20 points per game. Paul Pierce didn't do it on the Nets, right?
No, Paul Pierce was too late in his career.
Okay. I mean, let's go. Let's go. No, let's just go. Let's go. What's his name? Harden. People probably think less Harden than the other two. You think?
I think Kyrie and
Durant
and KD.
Out of just recency-ness? Yeah,
I would think so. I would say, Harden works there.
You want to go Harden? I feel like he's one that people.
Yeah, I'm thinking of other ones like Joe Johnson. I think was too far past his prime. D. Will might have been, but like whatever. Harden works. Just
okay. 2%. There you go. Okay. 20 points. Bucks. Do we want to just go Giannis? Do we want to go?
I mean, the other one that is not as chalky as Giannis, but if we want to save Giannis, that I'm sure we can use is Ray Allen. Ray Allen definitely.
Oh, let's go Ray in 20 points.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. You want to go Ray and then go Giannis? Try to grid it out here.
Giannis, boom, there you go.
All right. I was a tiny bit worried about Giannis. Oh, Kareem, dude, duh. He played for the Bucks before the Lakers. Oh my God. All right. Most common answers for everybody: Rockets and Bucks, PJ Tucker, Bucks 10 boards a game per season, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bucks 20 a game, Giannis, Nets and Rockets, Harden, Nets 10 a game per season. Oh, DeAndre Jordan did work for 10 for the Nets. Wow, I did not think that at all. Good for him.
Well, he would have been the highest one, so good thing we didn't go with him.
Good for him. Nets in 20 a game per season. Kevin Durant, first round draft pick, 20 a season. Michael Jordan, first round 10 boards. Shaq. Rockets first round draft pick, Hakeem Olajuwon. Not really surprised there. Justin, to run through our grid one last time, we got PJ Tucker for Bucks and Rockets, Giannis for 10 boards a game per season for the Bucks, Ray Allen 20 points a game per season for the Bucks, KJ McDaniels for Bucks and Rockets, Jared Allen for Nets for Nets and Rockets, I should say. Jared Allen for Nets 10 boards a game per season, Harden for Nets 20 game per season. Rockets first round draft pick Chris Paul, first round draft pick 10 boards a game per season Chris Bosh, first round draft pick 20 a game per season Paulo Banchero. Thank you everybody for listening to this episode of the Driving Dish NBA podcast. Appreciate you guys as always. Again, stay tuned for the Adam Krieble episode dropping this week. Enjoy the first round. In the meantime, we will be back with more on the first round next full episode, I should say, with Justin and I. Leave us a review on iTunes. Anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find us.
And obviously follow us on YouTube for a video version of the podcast. You can subscribe there as well.